Hello BookTube, my name is Cait and this is my channel Chapter Cait. And today I'm going to be doing my Monsterathon TBR. So the Monsterathon is a month-long readathon for the entire month of September. I created it last year and I am hosting it again this year. This year has a subtitle and that is Where Monsters Hide. So all of the reading prompts are named after places you might find monsters. The Monsterathon has 9 hosts total and I will have all of their information in the description of this video. And also, I discussed this on our Twitter page, and it's on our challenge sheets as well, but we actually have merch this year. We have candles, and we also have bookmarks. Both of these products are created by creators, obviously. Both of these products were made by creators that are in the book community. Justin from Triumphal Reads has a shop on Etsy that is under the same name, and he makes bookmarks. So he has 6 bookmarks total for the readathon. Each team has 2 different bookmarks. They each have either a bookmark that has the team name on it, or a bookmark with a short phrase. So for example, the Beasts have Read Like a Beast, the Haunts have Haunt the Page, and the Conspiracies have Shelf Conspiracy. I couldn't think of anything clever for the conspiracies, I'm very sorry. And the candles are made by Amber at Amber Dior on YouTube, or Lines and Vines on Twitter, and her Etsy shop's name is Cecilia. She's created 4 different candles with 4 different scents, a Monsterathon candle, and then a candle for each of the 3 teams, so the Beasts, the Haunts, and the Conspiracies. The Monsterathon candle is butter rum, salted caramel, and amaretto nog. That was really hard to say for some reason. The Beast is balsam fir, mahogany woods, and vanilla. I may have requested it to smell like a Christmas tree. The Haunts smells like black currant, absinthe, and spearmint. And then the Conspiracy smells like sea air, rain, and pipe tobacco. So that one smells like a man. I just ordered myself a bookmark and some candles today, so I can't wait till they get here and I can talk about them a little bit more. And then later on in the month, I'm going to do some giveaways with some of the products. But I'm really excited. You should definitely check out their shops anyway, because they both have a lot of cool stuff. I've actually had some of Justin's bookmarks before, and my dog ate them. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the TBR. So when it comes to creating a TBR, I am a huge mood reader. It's really hard for me to just like read stuff that I didn't just feel compelled to read, I guess. So it's hard for me to like tell myself I'm going to read this and then actually do it. So for TBRs, I like to give like a ton of options to myself. So even though like some books could cover multiple prompts, I'm just going to have a book for each prompt and then a couple of extras. That way, no matter what I do, I have plenty of books that I can read. As if I don't, I mean, I know I have plenty of books I can read. I have a lot of books. So I also lead a book club, the Goth Lit Club, on Twitter primarily, but we just had a live show for Mexican Gothic recently. And so in September, we're going to be reading Dracula by Bram Stoker. So this is obviously on my TBR. I'm not going to, in this video, consider it under a certain challenge or not, but I'm going to be reading this one next month. So if you want to join us, please do. I'm also going to be reading A Song of Wraith and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is for the Krusty Club on Twitter and also the Royal Readathon. The Royal Readathon is a readathon made by Booked and Busy. So several of the challenges for that readathon actually fit really well with the challenges for my readathon, so I'm going to just kind of be using some of these books for that one. There's a guy in this war-torn city and he's trying to escape his home with his little sister during this big festival, trying to kind of consider that as a big distraction to kind of get to this more flourishing desert paradise city. So when he tries to get into the big flourishing city, his sister is taken, and basically he strikes a deal, and the only way he can get his sister back is if he kills the crown princess? Yes, the crown princess. But here's the thing, the crown princess's mother, the sultana, just died, so she's kind of on her way up, you know? But there's this big mutiny on the rise. I mean, obviously, because the people at the gate of the place want her dead. So, I mean, there's a bunch of people that want her dead, apparently. So she's like, you know what? How about I just resurrect my mom? Because that always goes so well. But to do so, she has to have, like, the still beating heart of a king. So she's like, hey, what if I use this festival to, you know, find me a husband and then marry him and then he's the king and then I can use his heart. But then the guy who's trying to, like, get his sister back is like, hey, what if I use this festival to become the king so I can kill the crown princess? So they're both trying to kill each other, you know. It's one of those good old things like that. So I love that. I love attempted murder. It's like one of my favorite things in books. And then the group book for Monsterathon is How to Recognize a Demon Has Become Your Friend by Linda Addison. And this is actually a collection of prose and verse. It's a lot of like short stories, but also like poems and things like that. And I already started reading it and I already love it. Linda Addison is the first Black author to receive the Bram Stoker Award, which is pretty awesome as well. And I'm going to be reading Monstrosity by Laura Diaz de Arce. And I am excited as heck. Monstrosity is also a collection of monstrous short stories. I have been trying to read this book for a while and I keep getting distracted by other things in life. So I'm finally going to read this book because Laura is amazing and she's one of the friends that I met on book Twitter that I didn't actually meet on like booktube or something like that before. And so we've related on a lot of different things. So I'm excited to finally get to this book. Okay, so none of those books are for specific challenges in the Monsterathon, but I wanted to go ahead and present those at first before I got into the challenges. So the first prompt is Whispering Woods, and this is to read a book that you haven't heard like a lot about. So for this one, I'm going to be reading A Peculiar Peril by Jeff Vandermeer. I saw Jeff Vandermeer like in conversation with Leigh Bardugo at BookCon last year. He sounded like he was really big into like nonsensical sort of absurdist writing, and so I needed to check him out. And so I saw this and I was like, ooh, that's a cool cover. And then I saw that it was by Jeff Vandermeer and I was like, sure, let's get it. So this is about a dude who inherits his weird grandfather's weird mansion. So as him and his friends are like trying to explore the mansion, you know, check out all the things, see if there's any, you know, I don't know, wardrobes to Narnia or something, they discover that there aren't any wardrobes, but there are connections with a kind of parallel universe. And then he finds out that he has this fate to kind of be in this society of people who keep the universes from doing an interlap thing. You know what I'm saying? And the next prompt is Layer of the Babadook, and this is to read a book that has LGBTQIA plus representation. And for this one, I'm going to be reading The Dark Tide by Alicia Jasinska. In this one, there's like this town, and they like sacrifice a boy to the witch person every year for sacrifice, and that basically keeps their island from being flooded. So this girl's like, I have to get my brother out of here and protect him so he doesn't get chosen because I really feel like he's going to be chosen. And she was right because she got caught and then he was chosen to be the sacrifice. But then she pulls a Katniss Everdeen and decides that she's going to be like, I volunteer as tribute. And so then she gets to know with the witch and stuff. They, you know, as the sacrificial day, whatever, comes closer, they become closer. And so they basically have to choose between one of them dying and them not living together happily ever after in love forever, or, you know, the entire island being flooded. So there's like a little bit of a decision to make there. And the next prompt is Hydra's Hangout, and this is to read a book that has some sort of basis in mythology, like mythological creatures, or maybe it actually is mythology, I don't know, some kind of mythological being. And so for this one, I'm going to be reading The Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I've had this book for way too long, and I've said I was going to read it multiple times, so maybe I'll actually do it this time. But the main character, she is a gumiho, she is a fox shifter. Basically, she can shift into a fox, and they consume the souls of men, but she decides, I don't want to, you know, consume all the men, I just want to consume the bad men. So she has quite the platter. She becomes friends with a shaman, and then the shaman helps her kind of find the guys that are, you know, bad guys. But then she meets this other dude who I'm assuming there's like some sort of a love situation going on there, and something happens and she basically has to, you know, choose between her immortal life or his life, and I don't know what leads to that, but that happens. It's another one of those, like, am I going to sacrifice myself for the person I love, or am I just going to live and die alone forever sad? And then the next prompt is Maswamp, and this is, oh, that was actually a pretty good accent. And for this one, you have to read a good-looking book, a book that you picked for the cover or that you just think is really pretty. I am going to do Mouthful of Birds by Samantha Schweblin. I believe this is a book of short stories as well, but it was described as like a fever dream, so that's all I really needed to know to read it. I like fever dream kind of books most of the time. Then we're getting into the haunts prompts, and the first one is Under the Bed. And for this one, you're supposed to read a book by a Black or Indigenous author of color that you've been sleeping on. So basically a Black or Indigenous author whose work you haven't read yet. So for this one, I'm going to go with The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is by an Indigenous author. It is a mystery, kind of. The synopsis says that there are 4 American Indian men who get lost in the woods, and then they're having to deal with some consequences from some event that happened in their childhood. So I don't know if they're like trying to survive in the woods or what. But also it says that the traditions that they left behind in their past are going to catch up to them in a dangerous way. Danger. The next prompt is Secret Crypt, and this is to read a book that has some sort of mystery element to it. And I'm going to be reading It Devours. This is a Welcome to Night Vale novel. I really enjoyed the book Welcome to Night Vale, and so I'm hoping that I like this one just as much. If you don't know about Night Vale, there is a Welcome to Night Vale podcast, and it's basically like this radio guy talking about his super, super weird town that he lives in. The books are not the podcast verbatim, they just take place in the same place. So I'm excited about this one. Also, I found a signed first edition. It's got purple pages. Yeah, so I'm really excited to get to that because these books are very weird and they're very self-aware, but it's still like a good story even though it's like super weird. I'm here for it. The next prompt is Your Friendly Neighbor's House, and this is to read a book that was recommended to you. Several people have recommended The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden to me. I've never read anything by Catherine Arden, so I'm kind of excited to do so. I was told that I would like it because there's really lyrical prose, but also some dark elements and things like that. So I am here for it. But this is one of those basic, hey, my grandmother or my mother or some matriarch in my family used to tell me all kinds of fantastical stories, and I was like, wow, that's cool. But it turns out all those stories are real. It's one of those kind of situations. But I believe that the fairy tales that are true or whatever are creepier, kind of, and that they're like creeping in on them from the forest or something. I'm here for a creepy forest. There's a forest on the cover, so I'm assuming there's a forest. If there's not a forest, I will sue, because I love magical, creepy forests and books. And the next prompt is a moment of peace, and for this one, you're supposed to read a book that is just like super in your comfort zone. This could be a reread, or this could just be in your favorite genre, I don't know. It's just something that's super in your comfort zone. And for this one, I'm going to be reading Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Nyan, because I read Girls of Paper and Fire last year? Earlier this year? I think it was last year, yes. And I enjoyed it so, so much, but I still haven't gotten to the sequel. Even though it's been sitting on my shelf, I'm just slow. And it's been a year. We all know it's been a year, okay? So I'm excited to read this. Also, this cover is gorgeous. Like, it just has this really, it's not even like gold foil kind of stuff, but it like has this metallic sheen to it that's really cool. But it's a really cool story. In this world, there is a caste system. The kind of demon class or caste are at the very top. These are like full demon, full animal formed type beings. And then there's like, I think, a silver caste, and these people they're people, but they have certain like animal features. And then at the bottom there's the paper caste, and so every year a collection of girls from the paper caste are given to the demon king, and they're basically forced concubines. So do be careful, because there are graphic depictions of sexual assault in the first book, so just know that ahead of time, so that way if that's a trigger for you, you can, be prepared, or you can avoid it altogether. But it's really, really good, and it's about the, the lower class folks fighting the powers that be when the powers that be bad. Then we have Area 51, and this is to read a book that has aliens or mutants in it. And for this one, I'm going to be reading Go Mutants by Larry Doyle. I started reading this like several months ago, and I had to stop. It is so... it's real weird. I have no idea what's going on. Just starting off, I have no clue what's happening. So I really can't give you much of a description, because it's just weird. They're mutants, though. They have weird qualities. But the main character is Jim, but it's not J-I-M, it's J!M, because he's quirky. And I think he's the son of like an alien that tried to destroy the planet or something, so that makes you not so popular in high school. So it just kind of goes from there. And then we have a Rearview Mirror, and this is to read a book that is either published by an indie author or a book that was published 5 or more years ago. So some of the books at the beginning of this video were published by indie authors, so those will count for that aspect of it. But I did want to read a book that was published 5 or more years ago, so I'm going with Dragon Princess by S. Andrew Swan. This book is weird. I like weird books. This book is super weird. I think that a princess gets turned into a dragon. I think that's what's going on. But I'm not 100% on that one. It just says, Frank Blackthorn's last heist did not end well. The Virgin survived, but the episode left Frank on the run from a kingdom full of demon-worshipping cultists eager to replace their sacrifice. So there's some kind of something with a wizard and a dragon and a princess. I don't know, but it seems like amusing. The next prompt is The Upside Down, and this is to read a retelling, and for this one I'm going to go with The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This book is a retelling of 1001 Nights from Arabian Nights. I saw this when I was at YALLFest, and I thought it was really pretty, so I just got it. Well, I picked it up first, and I, skimmed the back, and I was like, hey, that sounds like something that I shouldn't be trying to rationalize my cover buying, because you know what? I don't have to explain myself to you. I don't fully know the story of 1001 Nights. I think someone's either supposed to marry somebody or someone's supposed to kill somebody. But they're like, well, let me tell you a story tonight, and you can kill me tomorrow. And they're like, okay, so they just every single night tell a story. This is not helpful, I'm sorry. I've also never read anything by Renee Ahdieh, so that's going to be a new experience. And then the last prompt is The Bunker, and this is to read a book with deaf or disability representation. And for this one, I'm going to go with Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. This is my husband's new series that he really, really likes. His favorite series is Malazan Book of the Fallen, but this is getting up there in his opinion. He really, really liked it. So Age of Myth is the first book in the Legends of the First Empire, and he says that there is representation in here for PTSD, and I think there is some other representations as well, but I'm not entirely sure, so I have to get into it first. I've read the first chapter before, but basically there's this race of beings that they kind of look at as gods, and I think they're called Frey, and they believe these people are invincible, and they bow down to them because they're scared of them and things like that. But then a human kills one, And they're like, oh, so they're not invincible, and so a whole thing happens because of that. Also, it has a pretty tree on the cover. We know how I like pretty cover trees. And then I just have a couple of extras that I'm going to be reading for fun. I have Shrek the book that the movie is based on, and this is by William Steig, and this is the 20th anniversary edition. I started this at one point and I kind of put it back down, but it's really, really funny, so I'm excited to read it. Then we have Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur by Reader, Montclair, Bustos, and Bonvillain. I think it's Bonvillain. This girl's a mutant, basically, and I don't really know what her power is. I think she's scared of what she'll turn into. But then this big red dinosaur drops in from, like, a different dimension or a different time or something. And then they're, like, buddies. But she's, like, worried that they might only be buddies until he gets hungry, so... It looks cute, though. Then I'm going to be reading the second volume of Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. I read the first volume, I think, last year during Monsterathon, I want to say. But I'm not sure. He's basically like this scientist dude, and then there was a big accident in the lab. You know how it goes. And then he turned into this weird swamp monster thing. And he fights against bad people, but then he's like, I'm the monster because I look this way. But in reality, he's a good guy because he's saving people, and they're the monsters even though they look like humans. It's one of those things. I don't know. But I really enjoyed the last one, and I'm hoping to enjoy this one. And I really love Alan Moore in general, so. Then I'm going to be reading Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. I don't fully know what this is about, but it's really pretty, and Neil Gaiman blurbed it. So, I mean, I have to read it because of that, so. Pretty much, if Neil Gaiman blurbs anything, I'm like, well, gotta read it, except for when he betrays me. But anyway, that is all for my Monsterathon TBR. I'm excited to dive into all of those. Keep an eye out on here for Monsterathon things, but also on our Twitter. We also have a Discord and all that good stuff. I'll put all that information in the description of this video. It's also in the description of my Monsterathon tag video and my Monsterathon announcement video, I believe. Yes. But throughout the month, there are going to be fun giveaways, there's going to be challenges, and some other stuff that will pop up here and there to keep you going throughout this whole month. Because I know that y'all are like me, and y'all are like, you know what, I'm going to be an overachiever, even though I've read less books than this in the entire year. We're going to do it, though. We're going to get through it. We're going to make this month our bitch. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's take this month by the balls and just, But that's all. Let me know what you're reading for Monsterathon. If you're doing Monsterathon, if you're not, are you doing any other readathons this month? Because there's a lot of really good ones. You should get out there and do them. That's all for this video. If you would like more of this junk, subscribe below. Bye! Tripping over shadows and I'm drowning in the night. I feel the soldiers coming and I'm putting up a fight.